I'm Sancho West alongside 11-2K, and this is the first game that we have. This is semifinals, so the way it's going to work, we'll have about 10 games of action, and it all has to unfold here today. We're going to bring you as much action as possible throughout the entire 50 duos will come out of this entire thing. So 500 duos, 50 duos going into the grand finals, and 11-2K. It's going to be so interesting to see if an NA team can make it. I know you doubt it, but I believe, baby. Let's make things a little bit interesting, a little bit more spicy. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'll say? I don't doubt an NA team making it through. I think it's very possible, right? We've seen a lot of NA teams make it through, right? Like there's been some successful teams, and you know, not just any regular ordinary NA teams. We've seen some top NA players make their way in, right? We were just spectating Bizzle gliding through, right? Bizzle and Saf, the likes of Mars, Canada making it in. There's some top NA names here. My biggest issue is I don't see them having much success, even if they do make it to the finals. But it is possible, and I'd love to see it, right? If it could happen, it'd be really entertaining to watch. But obviously, it kind of remains to be seen, right? We just have to wait and see if it does actually materialize into anything. Obviously, we have Bizzle right now on our screen. He's in a bit of a sneak engagement here towards what was once Risky Reels.
Yeah, Bizzle now is going to have an opportunity here. Starting off with 5 points, looking good. And what a strange pair, I would have to say, considering all the Twitter drama that unfolded between Bizzle and Saf, Levin. Like, what a crazy story to see them paired up here, the Dreamhack duos in the EU region.
Yeah, it is funny, right? Obviously, it's a bit ironic to see them playing together. I think, you know, I'm not sure the ins and outs of their relationship, you know, personally, right? Obviously, the majority of kind of the beef, quote unquote, was between Zay and Bizzle, it seems. Right. But, you know, ultimately, it is just kind of, you know, it's Fortnite at the end of the day, man. We just gotta, you know, leave it at what it is. It's a bit of drop spot beef. Let's not take it as anything more than that, right? And I hope the two of them, right, and I hope all parties involved will have, you know, respect for each other, as they should, right? Some of the best players to ever play Fortnite. And so, good to see these two playing together. Let's see if they can have some success. Obviously, right now, Saf not too successful. He gets taken out, leaving Bizzle to try clutch things up here.
This is going to be so hard for Bizzle to do this off ping as well. Bizzle and Saf only have 5 points. This is the semifinal, so they have plenty of games to work with. They don't have a set lobby, and that's going to be the end for this game, and they're going to have to re-queue up. But Manu and Gacheto have to feel really good taking out some of the NA East kings for this brief moment here, and that's going to begin their journey with 2 points, right? 2 elims for a total of 10 points. And the way that's going to work out is essentially when you get into the top 25, that's when placement points get doled out, but every elim gets you 5 points. The really most exciting thing throughout this entire time is that you're going to see a lot of duos do their best work in their early games, considering matchmaking is going to be a huge factor, Levin.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think it's teams like this, right, who, you know, you're not a favorite, right? You're not a favorite. But if you can get off to the right start, right, you have a chance. You know, there's lots of players who I think, you know, have the opportunity to make it through. Obviously, you know, need to kind of potentially think about how they're going to rack up, you know, a decent amount of eliminations to pair with their placement points. I think landing towards risky center map, rotations can be a lot easier. So they probably, you know, have worked things out on that side of things where they're not too worried about rotating cross the map and whatnot, but potentially having to get Surge some of the games later down the line, right? Yesterday in Opens, I wasn't expecting to see much Surge. Towards the end games, we did see it a bit. I'm sure the same thing will happen in semis. So these are things you have to think about going into the finals, right? Obviously, people probably haven't put much time into thinking about Surge plans for when you're in finals, right? I'm sure the games will be stacked. I'd like to hope they're stacked. And so, do you have a Surge plan? Do you know where you're rotating to get Surge? Things like this are things we think about in trios and things we're going to have to think about in duos as well.
It's going to be so fascinating to see the duo meta kind of form in front of our eyes. This is the first major duo competition for a lot of the Fortnite pros to navigate what that meta can be. In the qualifiers, we saw in the opens, we saw a lot of sniper play in-game. We saw a lot of use of the bandage bazooka. So a lot of the pros are going to try to figure out what is the best place. And you're already getting a taste of it. What's it like for the semifinals? You're seeing so many duos contest, and it's not going to be as easy as a trio to hold down a POI, a point of interest, or a drop spot all by themselves. Most likely, you're going to see a lot of splits. You're going to see a lot of people sharing loot, and we've seen a lot of replays popping up. We see Griff kind of getting the sweeps in and cleaning house right there. Some great work in that warehouse, but the great thing about the Dreamhack here at the semifinals is there's a lot of games happening simultaneously, and we're going to bring you all the action, keep you up to date who's getting victory royales, and of course, we're going to take a lot of checks at the leaderboard with our great host, Kelly.
Yeah, and I can't wait to really see how things shape up, right? I think, you know, there's a lot of exciting duos, right, who we can expect to perform well. But even besides those, right, obviously the names of Tayson, Mongrel, Mitro, Nate and Andalex, who are the reigning FNCS duo champions, they're all great big names, but I really want to see Andre and iDrop, right? Winning 5 out of your 10 games, like I said, they clearly have figured out the meta. You know, they have an understanding of how to close out games, it seems. And so if they can translate that into the semis, then you've got to pick them, right, as one of the favorites to potentially win the whole thing. And so if they come out with like a hot start and start winning a couple games in the semis, we definitely got to keep a close eye on these guys.
At the same time, there's stories of redemption throughout the entire EU region. And one of those stories that we're going to keep an eye on is Kezix and 4ZR. They did not really make it into the FNCS trios because they slipped up in the week 4 of qualifiers. They went down into the wildcard game, which was Crazy Fnatic, and they did not make it. And so because of that, I think Kezix and 4ZR, alongside with the Benji and Mr. Savage, who did not have a great performance as well, up to their standards in the FNCS trios, I think, honestly, we haven't made our picks yet. So while this battle happens here between Kezar, and he's going to have to do it without the Neo in your box, I'm going to have to say, my pick to win the entire thing for the Dreamhack Duo Champions is going to be Benji and Mr. Savage. That is my pick, Levin. Lock it in.
Savage and Benji, that is a good pick. You know what I'm saying? It's a good pick. I think I'm going to have to go with Tayson and Thomas.
AC? Okay.
Yeah, Tayson and Thomas. They had a hot week, right? Coming in, they won the Amar Cup, you know, which was kind of the first kind of premiere look at any sort of duos, right? They did well yesterday in Heat 1. They did well. Started off slow, but started to pick things up towards the end. As Kez are going to finish off this fight here. Cleaning up the 2v1 actually as well, which is pretty impressive. Good way to start things off. He's going to get his teammate in a reboot now.
And with 4 elims, so that's 20 points right then and there. And these were the kind of hot starts as you see in the feed in this match. Manu going down, so not enough power picking up Zayt and Bizzle. But now we see Building Legends Technique in a pickle himself in a 1v2 situation. And this is the differences between trios. And you may be saying, yeah, I know, Sancho, I know math. 3 is going to be greater than 2. But in these situations, it's going to allow you to clutch a little bit easier. And again, another duh statement, but hear me out. In trios, in these early and mid engagements, soloing a 1v3 is extremely difficult. But as a duo, you could kind of have to be careful and watch out for a solo superstar. And a lot of the EU region, we kind of have this debate, Levin, all the time as casters is, what about the EU region? And the bottom line is the EU region, they know how to fight really well.
Yeah, most definitely. It's why there's certain players whose their names are just upheld so high in the Fortnite community because their prowess when it comes to fighting, box fighting engagements, W keying is just, you know, beyond anything we've seen in other regions at times. And there are certain players who can match that in other regions, right? Obviously, the likes of a Reet, right? You know, somebody who can really come out and stomp and has shown that he can do that here and Dreamhack on day one. But of course, right, we call out EU for how good they are at fighting, but it's going to be important to highlight that, you know, beyond fighting, who's actually able to, you know, find some form in the end game, because, you know, you can be as good as fighting all you want. Oh, what a snipe here. You always have to have some sort of an idea of how you are going to tackle Surge if it does become a problem. Obviously, there were a couple of trios who, you know, say that was their downfall this season. And although, you know, duos will be a lot easier to manage, it could still be an issue. And so you don't want to ever underestimate Surge.
I agree. Yeah, that's the same kind of issue that we saw with Benji, Mr. Savage, and Lecce in their opening moments of the grand finals. They did not know how to kind of handle Surge because they weren't being contested. I think because the POIs won't be as uncontested as possible, you're gonna have at least some opportunities to net some Surge as you are being contested. But now we're in the half in, half out, in the fifth circle. You're seeing a majority of the board not safe, and here comes the rotations. And these are gonna be very deadly rotations to make because there's a lot of duos already safe. You hear some vehicle rotation, you see the super bouncers, the super shock waves, but now we're getting into the greatest part of Fortnite. We're getting to the end game. Zone 6, 7, and 8, and 9 will be full rotations, and it's gonna be so interesting to see how they handle it. But I'm taking a look at people's kits, Levin. Not a lot of strong kits, and that's just to show you sometimes the disparity of landing in the POI and taking the scavenger route.
Yeah, definitely something that, you know, people have to put some thought into now with the way duos are this season. And, you know, we always have to remember, as much as, you know, there is a meta to adjust to for duos this season, you know, things will be changing potentially drastically relatively soon. But regardless, into this lobby we go, into high ground we go. The battle for height will be interesting, right? We already see some teams trying to posture towards it. Everybody gathered up on that northern side of the zone, and you can see some interesting max distance pulls if it does pull that way. Maybe the zone will favor the majority of the players. We see a player going down here in front of us, Kaizen. I forgot who Kaizen's playing with here. I'm sure someone in chat will let me know. So they pick up one, potentially a first of many as well. And the zone, not too harsh for a lot of players, but for some of these guys on that kind of western side, it is a bit of a max distance. So you want to start to plan your rotation out now. If you have movement, you want to start to maybe look at whipping it out. Light and Wings though, and they're going to be, you know, licking their lips at this one. Everyone has to rotate in towards them, and they're staying up pretty and looking to get as many shots in as possible, maybe even pick up an elimination out of it.
Here we go. The fight for height is on. Multiple duos already at it. Wings and Light were coming from this southwest side, so that's why they have the advantage. But it looks like they're slowly going to go ahead and try to build up for height at this opportunity here. No, they elect to go for second. Now, we always know the great beauty of it all. Low ground, mid ground, and height. Those are going to be the layers in the 200 pump. Anti-U gets bopped from Wings, and that's going to be a strong start for this in-game start for Wings. And as we're going to wait for everything to catch up here, we have a brief moment as more elims are popping out. Storm Surge is active. Now 13 players have to go down, and that is going to be a yikes for Ziku and Kaizen. There are 231 below. They have a decent tarp here, but they have to work fast, and this is where things get scary, considering that there are 243 below Storm Surge here, Levin.
Yeah, and you see here, players sort of scrambling around all around the area. The Sip Toss here and Floki. The Sip Toss going down, and he's going to be taken out for the rest of the game. Floki was able to slip away, but now left alone to fight off for himself. And that's going to be the story for a lot of these players, right? Getting separated from their duos for just a moment, and once you go down, and Kaizen going down now. And just what we saw happen earlier, happening again now to this duo. Kaizen's not going to be able to get picked up, so this duo left to fend off for himself. Rotations coming in, and in a lobby full of duos, there's so many solos left alive.
And now Storm Surge has been turned off, so now everyone has an opportunity here. It's all going to be clean Fortnite the rest of the ride here. And as you see in the chaos, Ziku, these are the points that matter the most when you have zero business of surviving as a solo. The great news is he does have a epic shotgun, but he gets hit right in the back. The crack in the back is going to cause some chaos as Ziku now has to retreat down to the low ground. And that is where a lot of chaos, a lot of mud's going to be slain. Taking a look at your left side, you got Phantom and Karyargro sitting at height looking great, and the storm is pulling back. So that's going to be a strong opportunity to maintain that height. We're going to keep up with Ziku on the low ground. He has the floppers. He's looking good. He's going to have an opportunity. Yes, gets another elim and that siphon. Oh my goodness, but gets bopped with mouthful of fish.
Yeah, and now look. If you look up above height, Phantom and Karyargro, they're sitting together, sitting strong, and it doesn't even look like anyone's trying to contest them. But over here on low ground, you see so many players left alive. Lucia, who we were watching earlier, gonna get the big pot off and try regroup with his teammate now. And if these two can stay together, rotating on this far side of the zone, they have a good chance of racking up even more placement points than they already have. It's gonna be a matter of actually breaking through all these old builds now and hoping they don't run into anybody's box. Trying to control as much edits as possible. A fire truck going down, I don't know if that was a misplace, but still able to avoid so many people just staying alive longer and longer. As Phantom and Kyugo still stay on height. It seems like the lobby is just frozen at the moment. Nobody really making any sort of moves, any sort of plays. I spoke too soon because Lucia picks up one. And they pick up an unsuspecting player on the low ground, and now so many players left off to fight in between them.
Lucia, Omega are really working well on the low ground. We've seen an appearance of the Bandage Bazooka, giving them that extra heals as they're making their way. Lucia picks up an elim, 79 points so far, 6 elims for the low ground. Phantom goes down at height. So now it's a 2v1 situation for the first game we're watching right here at the Dreamhack Open for the semifinals. Kyugo, the Lone Ranger, going against Omega and Lucia. And Omega and Lucia have all priority in the storm. It's going to be a one bump and it's over going for Kyugo, but Omega actually goes down. It's a 1v1 and that is not enough. Lucia holding on with the Bandage Bazooka, getting our first victory out on the